Okay guys, we're building Duplicator deck today, so I'll explain what the avatar does. I'll give you a rundown of the core strategy, how to start the game, mulliganing, what you want in hand, and then we'll go over each different categories in that deck: auras, artifacts, minion, magic, and sight. Alright, let's get into it. So Duplicator, I'll read what it does. It says, your spellbook in Atlas can only contain matching pairs of uniques, and you start with only 2 spells and 2 sights in end. This is what hurts us the most. Starting with 2 cards less in our hand is rough already, and then we also have very little min of drawing cards in this deck. We have a couple of Umphalos, we have Kiss of Judas and Lilith that could give card advantage as well, and this is pretty much it, sadly. So your starting hand is very important to understand what you want to start with and how it's going to impact your gameplay and then your games in general. We'll go over a couple of auras to start. So we have the Black Plague. Black Plague is a unique aura that reads, at the end of your turn, the weakest minion occupying affected sites dies. If tied, choose one. Dispel if none die. It is good in our list because we have very little low powered minion. We have a lot of big boys in there. So if you draw the Black Plague towards the end of the game when you're trying to close, it's fine, you can still use it, as opposed to the other one, which is the Great Famine, I believe, which does the opposite. It kills the strongest minion first. So Black Plague is good at the start as well if you just want to control the first gameplay, build your mana base, all that sort of stuff. But it also can be used towards the end of the game if you want to clear out the way for your big boys to close the game. We also run 2 copies of Atlantean Fate, so having 2 of those is a blessing. Atlantean Fate is a very strong water card, probably one of the strongest, and has been for a long time. So I'll read what it says. It's a unique aura. Affected non-ordinary sites are flooded, so very important line, non-ordinary. The water sites only provide water threshold and lose all other abilities. Genesis, submerge all minions and artifacts atop affected sites. So all non-ordinary sites will be affected. So you got to be careful when you play it on yours, because all your sites will be affected, obviously, because they'll be unique. But there is little utility in most other sites there compared to the effect that this will ampere your opponent, the effect that will provide for you for your benefit. So Atlantean Fate times 2, sign me up, amazing. Get to play 2 of those. Okay, so now let's go in the artifacts. We run 18 artifacts. Risen, we need 4 already, so 4 cards out of 18 for a combo, because we run a combo in this deck. We run the Ring, Kythera Mechanism, Chaos Wish combo. We'll get to that later. But yeah, so already 4 out of 18 cards are needed for the combo, and then we obviously have some mana dorks in there. We have 2 Aquamarine Cores, only the Aquamarine Cores because this is a water heavy list. We have 2 Kythera Mechanism, so 2 Kythera Mechanism are needed for the combo. You can play them for other cards as well, we'll get to them, but they're mainly a combo piece in this list. We have 2 Philosopher's Stones because we have a lot of really mana heavy cards in there. I'm looking at the Doom of Dilmun and then Dragons, and all the big boys basically are in there. We run 2 copies of the Ring, so the Ring will keep you afloat with life gain, and then ping some opponent minions here and there as well, or even your opponent's avatar. But it's also a second part of our combo, our infinite combo. We do run 2 copies of 4 Waters of Paradise. So 4 Waters of Paradise is a card ideally you want to start with in hand, because it will give you that edge to have a massive threat on the board early, and then your opponent will have to deal with it. If you drop down a Green Knight, you know, on turn 3, or Lilith, or even, you know, an Angel, your opponent has to deal with it because it's going to start pummeling him and its minions as well. And in the meantime, it'll give you time to ramp more to get to 6 mana. So 6 mana is where you want to be at with this deck. The reason is very simple, is Chaos Wish costs 6 mana. So if you have 6 sight on board and a couple of a core or a Philostone or a way to reduce a mana cost in there, like a 4 Waters of Paradise in your hand, or even on the board already, you know, it's probably safer to have it in your hand because you can just sacrifice it straight away. But you need to be at 6 mana to start thinking about winning the game, basically. So that's it for 4 Waters of Paradise. We have one of our only means of card draw in the deck. We have one of our only means of drawing Pnakotic Manuscript. So Pnakotic Manuscript reads, bearer has tap, reveal your topmost spell and draw it. Bearer takes damage equal to the card's cost. So you don't want to have that on your avatar, because if you look at the deck list, you see a lot of scary numbers in terms of mana cost. If you draw in consecutive turns a Doom of Dilmun and Vatten Draconis, well, you're down 50 points already, and then the game is over. So you want to ideally have a Plague of Frog cast somewhere and have your 7 frogs dispersed around the realm, or in a knit row in the back line, whatever, you know, whatever is right at the time in that particular situation. And then you want your frogs to carry the manuscript, because they can die. That's their purpose, trump blocking, or, you know, sacrifice themselves for your benefit. And then you can get to draw your cards. If you cast Plague of Frogs twice, you have heaps of choice moving around with the Pnakotic Manuscript as well, so your opponent doesn't take possession of it. But you do not want to have that on your avatar. I can't stress this enough. This is the fastest way to lose the game. Moving on to Shrine of the Dragon Lord. So Shrine of the Dragon Lord reads, Genesis teleports all dragon to here. This is the less relevant part of this monument. It can be useful as well if you have that on your back row, and then you want to bring a couple of dragons you have on board closer from your avatar to act as bodyguards, or, you know, do the opposite, you know, play this closer from the opponent's avatar and then swing in for the win. But what interests us the most in this case is the second line that reads, this site provides an additional 1 generic mana and 4 threshold, so the whole 4 element threshold. So this is great for us. It's another mean of cost reduction. It's a monument. Bringing the dragons around is a bit gimmicky, could have, you know, its utility, but we just use that for the mana. Moving on to 13 Treasures of Britain. So 13 Treasures of Britain reads, when picked up, bearer's controller draws a card, teleports the treasure to the top of a random site of void. So ideally you would want to play the treasures having the Kythera mechanism on the board, so you can choose where they will end up, basically. So you guarantee to pick them up, and you guarantee to draw a card as well. Again, we don't really have many means of drawing cards, so these cards are very important. When you play them, you need to be mindful that you try to draw more than 1 card with them. You try to have at least 2 to 3 cards as a card advantage through that, because you want to replenish your hand. A reminder, you only start with 2 sites and 2 cards in your hand. We also have 2 copies of Dank Umphalos, so air and water spellcaster. At the end of your turn, this Umphalos draws a spell which only it can cast, and minions it casts must be summoned here. So this is a spellcaster. You don't want to have it too far off in your opponent's side of the realm. Reason being, if it gets destroyed somehow, it's a bit harder to recast, because it's a 4 cost spellcaster, so you don't want to have to replay it all the time just to draw cards. The restriction of having it cast what it draws isn't too bad realistically, unless, you know, it draws you a Chaos Wish. In that case, positioning is going to be a bit more relevant, because you usually try to get close from your opponent, being able to ping it with the ring. So let's go over one of the main way to win with this deck list. So you heard me mentioning the combo pieces already. So combo pieces being Kythera Mechanism, Ring of Morrigan, and then Chaos Wish. The explanation for that combo is you need Kythera Mechanism on your avatar, so you need to be nearby as well. So you need to be nearby for the ring to work, to target your opponent's avatar, and you need Chaos Wish in your hand. So what you're going to do is that once you have these 2 pieces on the board and then you're nearby your opponent's avatar, you're going to cast Chaos Wish. So Chaos Wish reads, cast a copy of a random spell for free, ignoring threshold, and the next player may copy Chaos Wish. So basically what you're going to do is cast infinite Chaos Wish. You're going to cast it once, and then because you can determine the randomness of Chaos Wish, the randomness of the spell you're going to cast, you're going to choose Chaos Wish, and you're just going to infinitely cast Chaos Wishes. Once you get your opponent down to 1, you're going to cast a Crothodon Thais, so you get to finish the game. You're going to take possession of him. It will be his turn, but you control him through Confidence Ace, and then you will not copy Chaos Wish at that time. So you will effectively break the infinite loop and then close the game, you know, like grab your opponent's avatar, send it against yours somehow, and then it dies that way. So pretty cool combo. I think it's one of the only infinite combo in Sorcery so far. It is very telegraphed because your opponent will see mechanism in ring, it'll be suspicious already, and then it'll see you casting Chaos Wish, it'll know it's over or close to be over, but then that will just work once basically. If you play several games with the same people, they will see you coming, which is why we have means of fetching our combo pieces and then putting them back on the board as well, recur them if you wish. So we'll go over our minions now. So we have 2 copies of Highland Princess, so amazing minion that tutors artifacts that cost 1. So good thing that the mechanism costs 1 as well as the ring. So the point of the princess is just fetch these straight away. So this is a minion you want to have either in your end, guarantee you a body and then a combo piece already, or you want to mulligan for it. You want to have that in hand on the board in turn 3 max, otherwise you'll have issues assembling the combo because you know you need 3 cards for that combo and the mana to play it as well. So yeah, that's the point of Island Princess on there. You could, if you draw it late in the game, you could fetch for a stone as well, which is always pretty good, or a core eventually if you want to, you know, get that extra mana, and then all those heavy threshold cards that we have like the Flood or Archangel Raphael. If you want to get some help with an Aquamarine core, Island Princess is definitely there for that as well. We also have 2 copies of Sir Tom Thumb. So Sir Tom Thumb is a 2-cost minion, double threshold air and 1 water. It has 1 point of defense and 2 of power, may be carried by any beast, death ride ability, return to end. So this is why we run Sir Tom Thumb in this list, just so he can chomp. He's going to be your avatar bodyguard, and then he'll, you know, sacrifice himself for whatever comes at your avatar, and then you can get him back in hand and then play it again, etc, etc. This is Sir Tom Thumb only purpose in this deck. There is no beast can carry or anything like this. It's just basically a chomp blocker. So we have 2 copies of Aino as well. Aino, amazing water minion that came out of Gothic. 3 power, cost 3, 2 water threshold. It reads, at the end of your turn, Aino may take a step between the top and bottom edges of the realm to gain stealth. So, you know, comes up, cross the realm, get 3 points of damage at the end of the turn, goes the other way around, stealth again, can't be targeted. Yeah, very sticky minion, very strong as well. The 3 power is, you know, nothing to scoff at basically. So yeah, really good Aino. We also have 2 copies of Sir Peleus. So he's a knight, he costs 3, he has 4 power and 3 defense points. He's a unique model, it has Submerge, and it reads, moves freely between water locations. This is great, moves freely between water location. That extra mobility will help you closing the game, get rid of some threats, and we have several means of flooding opponents' sites, such as the Flood or Atlantean Fate and that Dragon Baton Draconis as well. So your Sir Peleus will definitely have freedom of movement to go around and then smack your opponent minions in the face for 4. Really underrated minion, I think, really. We also have 2 copies of the Lady of the Lake, so 3 for 3, 3 power, 3 water threshold, and cost 3. It's a spellcaster and it has Submerge as well, and a Genesis ability. You may summon a mortal or artifact from a cemetery to Lady of the Lake's location. If you do, shuffle her into Orna's spellbook. So Lady of the Lake is great at getting your combo pieces back. If you want to bait your opponent playing all the disenchant and all the artifact removal spells that he has, either from its collection or in hand, play them straight away. Play them at the start of the game. Play your mechanism, play your core, bait your opponent to use all the spells before you actually need to use them. If you can get them back with Lady of the Lake, you guarantee to have your combo pieces sticking on the board and you can move towards the victory. So Lady of the Lake is great to bring back artifacts, but she also brings mortal back. So we have quite a few mortals in there. We have the Princess, we have Aino, Sir Peleas, we have the Ruler, we have the Green Knight as well. So that's, you know, 5 really powerful minions as well. They can bring the Princess back, fetch another piece, fetch another Philistone if you need the cost reduction or your combo pieces and all that sort of stuff. So that recursion is one min of getting card advantage. It's a bit convoluted, but because we don't have raw card advantage in this deck, Lady of the Lake is here for that. You know, you play your pieces, you keep drawing, and then you know you can get them back eventually on the Genesis effect. So they're still there. You know, they're not lost unless, you know, there's some graveyard hate and then someone managed to banish a cemetery. In this case, you'll have to do it the old-fashioned way through card draw or with a lucky island princess. But yeah, Lady of Lake really has a spot in this list just for recursion, and then make sure you can fetch whatever you need at the time. We have 2 copies of Ruler of Thule. So Ruler of Thule as charge is a 4-cost minion for 3, and it says allies can move as if the top and bottom edges of the realm were connected, a little bit like Aino. Other allies occupying sites there have +1 power, so it has to be in the same square for the +1 power. But it's really a good minion. You build your back row and then you play your Ruler of Thule. Having charge, you can just charge with all the minions and then get a lot of damage in there, or, you know, bring your frogs on the other side to intercept, or, you know, chump block when you try to do direct damage with another minion. Yeah, the Ruler of Thule at this point doesn't really need an explanation. It's been around for a long time and it's played a lot. We have 2 copies of Archangel Raphael. So he's a 5-cost minion, 4 water threshold, which is massive, and 4 power. He's a unique angel with airborne and ward, and his Genesis ability is strike or ward a nearby avatar. Warding your avatar is really strong actually. It doesn't seem like much, but when you at death door and then you're being chased by your opponent's minion, it doesn't have any lightning bolt, any direct damage to get this last point of damage to finish you. Well, having a ward is a good way to earn a couple more turns, you know, just enough time to turn around basically and do something. So it's, yeah, a very strong ability. And also the fact that you can just come in and then strike your opponent's avatar, eventually to finish him. The freedom of movement of airborne is great too, and it has ward as well. So it's the complete package on the 4 power minion is great. Next up we have Lilith. So Lilith, another really strong minion. It's a 5-cost minion for 3 power. Demon, at the end of your turn, reveal opponent's stop spell. If it's a minion, summon it here. Otherwise, put it at the bottom of your deck. So this is another min of card advantage. Not card draw, but card advantage, because you will get to summon your opponent minions. So summon is free. You don't have to spend your resources for that. So you will manipulate your opponent's top deck already, and then you will get board advantage eventually. If it's a minion, you can get pretty crazy. If you get one of the big minion out of your opponent's deck, well, you definitely winning. And this is every turn. And then if you protect Lilith, having her sitting in the back row where it's safe or wherever it's safe in the realm, and then you manage to do this like 2 to 3 turns in a row, this is back-breaking. If you top 3 minions out of your opponent's deck, this is massive. This is huge. So it's a good tempo piece. It's a big threat. It will definitely attract a lot of removal. Yeah, love Lilith. A 2 copy of the Green Knights as well. The Green Knight is a powerhouse. It's a 6-cost minion. It has 3 power, 7 defense, so it has a big booty. Whenever an enemy minion can attack the Green Knight, it must. So this is a mandatory action, and death strike target nearby enemy. So yeah, mandatory action. Your opponent's gonna start his turn and then draw a card, and then the mandatory Green Knight action happens. So you want to have him in the action where he's gonna get, 1, 2, 3 minion to attack at him, and then eventually get rid of them, because he's gonna fight back, defend for 3, and then he also is gonna strike in the event it dies and it's nearby. So it's the possibility of arming 10 cases. So yeah, Green Knight is huge. It's one of the most powerful minion in water. very utilized. So yeah, yay for the Green Knight. We also have 2 copies of Adonitum. Adonitum is one of the dragons that came out of the Dragon Lord. It's a 7 cost minion, 6 power. It has airborne and movement +1, which is huge with airborne. And it reads, whenever Adonitum stops, she may deal 3 damage to another random unit there. So another unit, so it can't hit itself, which is good. And yeah, movement +1 on airborne just opens up a lot of possibility on chasing your opponent's avatar that tries to, you know, run away from you when you try to close the game. And yeah, inflicting damage when it stops, you know, it's an added bonus. You know, you can clear out the smaller minions, you can swing in, get rid of the bigger minion, or if you have something strong like Young Master Damien, you know, you swing in on Young Master Damien with your own dragon, and then you'll get rid of the ghouls with movement later. It's really good as well. We also have 2 copies of Vatten Draconis, another dragon that came out of the Dragon Lord mini set. So 7 cost, 6 power, has submerge, and at the end of your turn you may submerge all minions and artifacts there. Really good too. You know, you submerge, really good mechanic. It really interacts a lot with what we have with Sir Peleas, you know, and then you connect that with an Atlantean Fade, you get a big body of water. So your Sir Peleas can move freely, get some damage here and there. And the fact that he can just submerge like any minion and artifacts, it's really strong. You can get your artifacts back with the Lady of the Lake, or you can, you know, send her in underwater, grab them back up. It's, yeah, you really have only positives playing Vatten Draconis in this game, and I was told that it's getting a lot of traction as a champion for the Dragon Lord Avatar as well, because this is a really strong effect. So yeah, and then we get to play 2 copies of this. The costly minions, you know, the end of the curve for the minions is really high. We have 6, 7, 7, and 8. 8 being the Doom of Dilmun. So Doom of Dilmun is an 8 cost minion, 6 power, and 4 hair threshold. 4 hair threshold is going to be a bit hard to get here, because we only run an Aquamarine core, but we have artifacts to help us. 4 Waters of Paradise, Philosopher's Stone. And this is a real menace, you know. It has Burrowing, Submerge, Void Walk. It cannot be banished, destroyed, or modified. So the only way to get rid of it is cast into exile, so being shuffled in its own spell book, or have it sacrifice itself somehow. So yeah, very sticky minion. Once it comes out on the board, your opponent will shift its strategy straight away, will run away from it, and that's on you to capitalize with this, with your movement and your placement. So that's it for our minion. A lot of big boys, a lot of massive threats. They obviously are very prone to be removed, you know, with Poison Nova. This is going to hurt us a lot, being infiltrated, mesmerized with mesmerism and all that sort of stuff. And because we don't really have any means to defend ourselves with any sorts of magic, we really want to make sure that when we play cards like this, they are going to stick around for more than 1 turn, so we don't use, you know, turn after turn 6, 7, 8 mana for something that will last 1 turn without getting any damage in, you know, being able to use its effects like Lilith and all that sort of stuff. So because we have very little minion card draw, and any and every card counts, placement is very important, and then, you know, trying to maximize your minion on the board is very important. It's only 24 minion because the main goal of the deck is, you know, getting that combo ready. So you have all of those that are really like tempo minions, you know, like Peleas can go anywhere. This is just literally to chump, and then this is just a tutor, and Atonitum is just to, you know, wreak havoc on the board basically. But yeah, you really have to make sure that these minions, when they're played, they stick around. This is why the Doom Demon is great, but it's the most expensive minion that we have at the moment. You could run the Great Old One as well, but it's the same, you know, if it gets removed straight away, this is a massive bummer, because you will have spent a lot of resources, and then you only submerge a realm, which is decent, but, you know, for 8 costs, there's probably better to do. But I digress. Now onto the magic. So we have 14 spells on here. We start with Browse. So Browse cost 1 and 3 air threshold. It reads, look at your next 7 spells, put 1 in your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your spell book in any order. So obviously it's top deck manipulation. You want to get your important pieces either on top of your deck or in your hand straight away, or some mana reduction dorks somehow. So yeah, Brow is very important. We also have 2 Plague of Frogs. Plague of Frogs is an amazing water spells. It is a staple at this point. It costs 1 3 water threshold, and it's a unique magic that summons 7 frog tokens anywhere. You can have them 7 on your avatar to have 7 frog bodyguards. You can have them disseminated around the realm, intercept with it, chum some projectile damage. Yeah, you can really do whatever you want. And they also have a very good use in the fact that they can carry the narcotic manuscript, as we were saying earlier, and then get that card draw action happening. We get to run 2 Plague of Frogs, meaning we could literally have 14 frog tokens along the realm, and this is a bit of nightmare for your opponent. We also have 2 copies of Fist for Crows, so unique magic, cost 3 into our threshold. It says name a spell, set an opponent's end, spellbook and cemetery for cards with that name and banish them. Then they shuffle their spellbook. So there's a few targets for this. You want removal spells out of the game basically, like Poison Nova, Infiltrate, Mesmerism, anything that could either destroy your big minions or take control of them. You know, Betrayal is one as well. In Fire, that came out of Gothic, Betrayal is really good, a little bit like Mesmerism, but just for 1 turn. But yeah, you wanna target these spells that are guaranteed to mess you up, because if someone takes control of one of your dragon or the Green Knight or even Lilith, it is pretty much game basically, because you have no way of, you know, getting rid of the minion straight away with any you know, you don't have a Poison Nova, you don't have any direct damage or any spell along those lines. So yeah, Fist for Crows is mainly just to anticipate threats depending on what your opponents run. So if you know he has Fire, there's a fair chance he has an Infiltrate, and it forces you to know what your opponent could potentially run. You know, like if Water being very popular at the moment, you know they have a copy of Mesmerism. Even if it's only 1 copy of it, you know, your opponent could have it in hand, and it will save you the game. You know, it's really good to be able to anticipate and know what your opponent can possibly play. Also 2 copy of Kiss of Judas, so costs 3 water threshold. It reads, this turn attack against target avatar can be defended and you draw a card whenever they're attacked. So basically, if you play Kiss of Judas and then you have some frogs on the battlefield already, and you'll attack 1 by 1, you can draw, you know, heaps of cards, and this will greatly help you. But just being able to draw a card or 2 in this deck list is already amazing. You know, your opponent's avatar is going to be defenseless, and when it's against, you know, a Tonitum or the Doom Dillman, that means a lot. You can close the game, you can finish your damage like this, you can inflict a lot of damage like this, and then yeah, the card draw is a massive bonus for us, but it's not necessarily why we're playing Kiss of Judas. You know, it's good if you have frogs and then you attack, and let's say you play a Plague of Frog and you have Kiss of Judas in your hand, you know, next turn, if you have all your frogs clear from the avatar, you can replenish your hand for 7 and you sorted. It's a very different game from that point onwards. So yeah, Kiss of Judas, 2 utilities in here. We have 2 copies of Mesmerism as well. You can neutralize your opponent's biggest threat at the time and use this against them. The spell reads gain control of target nearby minion. So yeah, it's a 4 water threshold, so a bit hard to play early, but yeah, it's good at any point of the game basically. When you're in front, you know, when you manage to chip your opponent for quite a bit, you're trying to tempo and then get your combo pieces together. Mesmerism comes in clutch. We also obviously have 2 copies of Chaos Wish, so a combo piece out of 3. It reads, cast a copy of a random spell for free, ignoring threshold, then the next player may copy Chaos Wish. It is a combo as well, but if you're already winning, and let's say, you know, you can't get your opponents on death door, and then you cannot get that point of damage because he keeps running around, and then Duplicator is not really like a mobile avatar or anything like this. You have no movement spell like Blink, and you know, it can get quite awkward. Well, you have Kythro Mechanism on board, you play Chaos Wish, and then you fetch, and then you cast a Zap or you cast a lightning bolt, or one of these finishing spells, or searing truth, you know, spells that can finish your opponent. So it is a combo piece, but it's also some sort of collection toolbox, so to speak, you know, because you get to choose, obviously, if you have the mechanism on the board, but you get to choose what spell you're going to play, which is huge. You know, it could be anything. It could be the flood, could be, you know, all those really powerful spells that could turn the game around. So yeah, lots of utilities in Chaos Wish. One of my favorite spells that came out in Gothic. We also have 2 copies of the Flood. So the Flood costs 6, has 4 water threshold. It's a unique magic that reads permanently flood the entire realm, including voids. Submerge everything except 1 minion of each type. And we also have 2 copies of the Flood. So the Flood is a 6 cost spell, 4 water threshold. It's a unique magic. It reads permanently flood the entire realm, including voids. Submerge everything except 1 minion of each type. So the Flood is, yeah, it's a big reset button, basically. You get to flood the entire realm and then submerge everything. You choose 1 minion of each type. If they have several types, you will get to choose only one. Let's say, you know, Jack the Ripper is evil, and then if they have several types, you only get to choose one. Let's say, I don't know, you have a dragon mortal, you can only save, and another dragon something, you can only save 1 dragon or 1 mortal, or all that sort of stuff, you know. So it does some damage, obviously. It's a good reset button. It gives Sir Peleus a lot of freedom of movement after this, move around the realm. So yeah, the Flood is one of the only means we have of getting rid of multiple threats at once. And now on to the sites, so 30 sites, some generic ones, some multi-threshold. So we'll start with Camelot. Camelot reads, unique minions cost 1 less to cast to nearby sites, so another means of mana reduction, cost reduction. Unique minions, we have, you know, 24 unique minions, so you guarantee to get some use out of Camelot. However, it has no threshold, so this is a big drawback, because you're trying really hard to build your threshold and your mana base in this deck list, but the cost reduction offset, I think, the fact that it has no threshold, so earns a spot on the list. We have also 2 copies of City of Glass. So it's an air site, it has hair threshold, and it reads, provides 2 instead, so 2 generic mana instead, but is destroyed when damaged. So it does both, actually. It has the hair threshold and then provides 2. The drawbacks being, you know, being destroyed if it gets damaged anyhow. But it's a very good site. In here, the mana boost is huge. We also have 2 Cloud City. So Cloud City is in here just, you know, if you need your avatar to move without using one of his actions, because you will have to tap a lot to play sites, basically, to get to that 6 mana threshold. So Cloud City helps you moving around out and about on the realm without having to tap, so it's a great site in this case. And then later in the game, it can help, you know, if you have a Tonitom on there, plus the movement +1, and then the airborne. It gives you a lot of mobility to reach whatever you need in the realm. We also have 2 copies of Defile Aspire, so it's an air site. Reads, site occupied by evil. Have at the end of your turn, you lose 1 life. This is great against Necromancer. If he pumps out a lot of skeletons, it will sing twice, basically, because it'll take 1 point of damage for each. It also works against you. So if you have evil on your sides, you will take 1 point of damage, so be mindful of this. But it's a good tempo piece against Necromancer, which is a very popular avatar at the moment. We also have 2 copies of Gilman House. So Gilman House is a water site. It has an activated ability for 4 water threshold. It says transform a minion here into an horrible hybrids from your collection. It can be your minion or it can be an opponent minion. So if you manage to lure an opponent minion on this side, and if you have necessary threshold, you can transform one of the threat into a 3 power horrible hybrids. So it's pretty great. We also have 2 copies of Inmass Dock. So in the same vein, it's a water site. Once on your turn, you may lure an adjacent minion to step here. So it is forced movement in water. It is good to keep some opponent threats away or bring them forward to finish them faster, etc, etc. You get the idea. Inmass Dock, really good site in here. We have 2 copies of Joyous Guard as well. It's one of the tri-sites from Arthurian Legends. It belongs on your back row. It's the fire, water, and air threshold tri-site, so obviously works very well for us. We have 2 copies of Maelstrom. move the minions around in the body of water. If you got to flood the realm with the flood, the maelstrom gets really strong because you can basically move any minion anywhere in the realm by one step. So it's really good in that sort of case, whether it's, you know, away from you or pull them closer from you. I really like the maelstrom. We have 2 copies of Merlin's Tower. So it's an air site, and then it has a Genesis ability that requires 3 air threshold. It reads, this turn gains spellcaster and its next magic cost 3 less. So basically this will act as a spellcaster, and then the only condition is 3 air threshold, and a mana cost reduction of 3 is massive, you know, it's huge. It's only magic realistically, so it could be good for, you know, your Chaos Wish. Chaos Wish is 6, or the Flood, or even, you know, 3 Fist for Crows, or even if it's only a Plague of Fire that costs 0, you know, it's pretty good as well. Any mana reduction in this deck list is very welcome. 2 copies of Mirror Realm as well. Mirror Realm reads, this site enters the realm as a copy of another nearby site. So basically you can have the Merlin Tower shenanigan another 2 times, 3 if you count the other copy of Merlin's Tower, or any other, you know, like a tadpole pool or any things like this. Any Genesis effect is great with this because it enters as a copy. So the Genesis effect is still functional, it works, and Mirror Realm in general is great. You can copy your opponent's site as well. 2 copies of Tadpole Pool. Tadpole Pool has a Genesis effect as well that requires 3 water threshold. Summon 3 Sandwich Frogs tokens here, so another cannon fodder for your manuscript if you want, or some, you know, chunk blockers. All those frog tokens become very, very handy. They are submerged, but it's not that big of a deal realistically. The turn after, you bring them up to the surface, or they can fetch, you know, an artifact for you or something like this that's been submerged with the Flood or Atlantean Fate somehow. And there's always a utility with these little frog tokens. Also have 2 copies of Color Out of Space, so ideally you'll have them in the columns, you know, where there will be next to a void. So Color Out of Space provides no mana or threshold if not adjacent to the void. It's a 4 threshold site, and yeah, it's really powerful early in the game. It's one of the sites you want to have it straight away. Maybe you play in second, you know, you play your first site under your avatar and then Color Out of Space on either side realistically. It's one of the sites you want to have in early game. We also have 2 copies of the Manor Dapril Hill. It's one of the new sites that came out of Gothic. So it's an air site, and then its capacity, it has a ability that requires 4 air threshold. Its ability reads, once on your turn, this may deal 3 damage to target enemy here to heal you 3. So a little bit like the Dapril Vampire effect, lifelink. And but yeah, this is really strong as well, because if you manage to have that and then online early in the game, it's one of the only means of getting some life back in this deck list. So yeah, we also have another copy of the Trilands in Tinted Gel. So Tinted Gel is the earth, air and water. So same, you have to play that in your back row, but this is really good at threshold fixing early in the game. Also one of the sides you want to have in your starting hand, along with Color Out of Space. And to finish our site, we have 2 copies of Watery Grave. So Watery Grave is a water site that reads, whenever an enemy drowns nearby, summon a skeleton atop that site. This is basically in here because there was no other really good sites. Basically there was nothing better at the time than Watery Grave. Its effect could happen, you know, even though if it does happen, just 1 skeleton token is not that big of a deal. Basically they can defend and it's only 1 power. They could carry your manuscript for you and then take the damage and draw the cards, but because it's so situational, yeah, it's not something I would really rely on this. But there was no other better sites to put in because the unique restriction is quite heavy when you have to put water sites. So that's it for the deck list. So I'll go over the main strategy, just a little recap. So basically, because you start with 1 less site and 1 less spell in your hand, you want to ramp hard. You want to start your hand, you know, with either a core or a Philosopher's Stone or a min. to find it. I mean to tutor it in Island Princess. You really want Island Princess in a starting hand if possible, or a Lady of the Lake eventually. It's also a good starting point because it guarantees you, if one of your artifacts are being removed, or if you baited your opponent in removing them, as we talked earlier, well, you get them back. And then this is a bit more backbreaking because you would have to use either straight up disenchant or use a toolbox to fetch it out of its collection, and then, you know, like just reduce the pools of possibility that your opponents have is great. So yeah, so starting hand, you want either one of your combo piece and then a core and then a Philosopher's Stone, and you want as a site, yes, you want Colorado Space, and then you also want one of the threshold fixing site, the try site. So this is, you know, imperative basically, so you don't have too big of a disadvantage when you start. Don't worry too much about having your big minions you're gonna draw into them. They will definitely appear eventually. Chaos Wish is something that you could start in the hand as well, but I think it's also better to fetch it with Browse or something like this, because given you have 2 Browse, you can dig quite deep in that spellbook. 14 cards basically, so you're sort of bound to find the Chaos Wish in that game, and then, you know, by that time you really want to have your combo piece either on board or, you know, fetchable or ready to be played in your hand, or and all of that. So yeah, mulliganing will be extremely important with the avatar. A bit of a disclaimer, it is a very hard deck to pilot. The win rate's not gonna be as much as a Mono Water Necromancer or, you know, a Pathfinder and all these really powerful avatar, but it's a funness to play. And then I've committed to, you know, build a deck with all the avatar that came out of Gothic, and it's one of them. If you like that deck tech, if you like that video and then you found some good information in there, please do leave a comment if you have a better idea how to build a duplicator. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more deck tech, more content. We have some live gameplay being recorded as well. It takes a bit longer to edit, so in the meantime I'm pumping out those deck tech videos. If you would consider subscribing to the channel, that would really help us, and then liking and commenting on the video, it helps us pushing the videos to a lot of other people as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks guys.